In this video, we're going to look at the cumulative frequency and the cumulative frequency curve. So here I have my table with my marks and frequency. So I have marks here, the variable is x. So we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and so on. So these are marks. And here we have frequency, the variable is f. So we have 5 students getting 10 marks, 7 students getting 20 marks, 9 students getting 30 marks, and so on. Now for cumulative frequency. Our first cumulative frequency would be our first frequency that we have. So the first frequency that we have here is 5. So our first cumulative frequency is going to be 5. So here I'm going to have 5. So now we're going to add up the frequencies in this order. We're going to have 5 plus 7. I'm going to write the answer here, which is 12. I'm just going to write on the outside here that we have 5 plus 7 was equal to 12. So you can clearly see how we got that 12. Then we're going to say 12 plus 9, and that's 21. So I'm going to write out here 12 plus 9 is equal to 21. Then we're going to have 21 plus 15, and that's 36. So I'm just going to write here 21 plus 15 is equal to 36. Now you don't have to write out this, I'm just writing this out to show you. You just have to add it up and fill out the column for the cumulative frequency. So 36 plus 18 is equal to 54. And I'm just writing here how we got that 54. 36 plus 18 is 54. Then we're going to have 54 plus 13. So that will give you 67. So I'm just writing here that the 54 plus the 13 was equal to 67. Then we're going to have 67 plus 11. So that's 78. So the 67 plus 11 was equal to 78. Then we're going to have 78 plus 9, and that's equal to 87. So I'm just going to write the 78 plus 9 is equal to 87. Then we're going to have 87 plus 8, which is equal to 95. So 87 plus 8 is equal to 95. And then the 95 plus 5 is equal to 100. So 95 plus 5 is equal to 100. Now, if you were to add up all our frequency here for sigma f, so sigma f would be equal to 100. So the last number for a cumulative frequency is equal to the sum of all your frequencies, which is sigma f. Now I'll just erase this here, since we don't need it anymore. And now let's look at something. Let's say the question gave us the marks and the cumulative frequency, and the question did not give us the frequency, but required us to fill out the frequency column. Let's see what we'll do. So I'm just going to erase the frequency column. And remember, your first cumulative frequency is equal to your first frequency. So since the first cumulative frequency is 5, your first frequency is going to be 5. And then I'm going to say 12 take away 5. So you can see 12 take away 5 is equal to 7. And that's how I know this frequency here would be 7. Then I'll say 21 take away 12. So 21 take away 12 is equal to 9. And that's how I know the frequency here would be 9. Then I would say 36 take away 21. So that's 36 take away 21. And that's 15. So I know my frequency here would be 15. Then we have 54 take away 36. So 54 take away 36. And we get 18. And that's how I know my frequency here is 18. Then 67 take away 54. So 67 take away 54. And we get 13. And that's how I know my frequency here is 13. Then we're going to have 78 take away 67. So 78 take away 67. And we get 11. So I'm going to write 11 here. Then we have 87 take away 78. So 87 take away 78, and we get 9. So I'm going to have 9 here. 95 take away 87, and we get 8. So I'm going to write 8 here. And of course, 100 take away 95 is 5. And that's how you can get back the frequency from the cumulative frequency. So now it's time to draw the cumulative frequency curve. So what I'll have is cumulative frequency on the y-axis and the marks on the x-axis. So now I'll draw, label, and number the x and y-axis. So here I've drawn and labeled my axes. Now it's time to do the numbering. Now, seeing that my marks go from 10 to 100, I'll start at 0 and go all the way up to 100 on the x-axis. And also my cumulative frequency goes from 5 to 100. So I can start at 0 and go all the way up to 100 on the y-axis. So here will be the origin, which is 0 for x and also y. And what I could do, I could go up by 10 units every 2 centimeters on the y-axis. I could do the same thing for the x-axis. So now that I have my axes labeled and numbered, it's time to start plotting points. So I'll be plotting 10 on the x-axis with 5 on the y-axis. So I'm going to come here at 10. And of course, halfway in between 0 and 10 will be 5. So here will be 5. And I make my x like this. Then I'll be plotting 20 on the x-axis with 12 on the y-axis. So I'm going to come here at 20, go all the way up to 10. And since 1 centimeter contains 5 little blocks, 2 centimeters will contain 10 little blocks. And since every 2 centimeters we're going to buy 10 units, so from here to here is 10, and we have 10 little blocks in between 0 and 10, then each little block is going to represent 1. So when I count to 10 like this, I just have to count 2 little blocks above 10, and that will be 12. So for 30 on the x-axis, we're going to be plotting 21. So we're coming here at 30, we're going all the way up to 20, and then 1 little block above it will be 21. Then we're going to go at 40 on the x-axis, and we're going up to 36 on the y-axis. So coming here at 40, we'll go all the way up to 35, which is right here. And then 1 little block above that will be 36. Then for 50 on the x-axis, we're going all the way up to 54. So you're coming here at 50 on the x-axis, we're going all the way up to 50 first. And then we can count 4 little blocks above 50, or we can come up here at 55 and let's go down by 1 little block, and that will be 54. Then for 60 on the x-axis, we're going to plot 67 on the y-axis. So we're coming here at 60, we're going all the way up to 65. So that'll be right here, 65, and then count 2 little blocks above that, so 66, 67, and make our x here. Then for 70 on the x-axis, we're going up to 78 on the y. So we come here at 70, go all the way up to 75, which is here, and then count 3 little blocks above that, and that will be 78. Then for 80 on the x-axis, we're going to plot 87 on the y. So 80, go all the way up to 85, which is here. And then 2 little blocks above that will be 87. So 1, 2. And we make our x there. Then for 90 on the x-axis, we have 95 on the y-axis. So we come here at 90, go all the way up to 95, which is in between 100 and 90. And make our x here. And then for 100 on the x-axis, we have 100 on the y-axis. So we come here at 100 and go all the way up to 100 on the y, which is right here. Now, one last point to plot. We like to close off the cumulative frequency curve on this end. So look at this pattern here. 10, 20, 30, 40. So if you're going backwards, we go 40, 30, 20, 10. So what will come before 10? 0. So 0, the frequency will be 0. And if that was your first cumulative frequency, it'll be 0 here. So then you have 0 plus 5 is 5. So this will be 0 on the x-axis and 0 on the y-axis. So that will actually be the origin, which is right here. Now, if I were to connect these points with straight lines like this, this is what you will call a cumulative frequency polygon. So that's if you use straight lines to connect the points. So what we're going to draw here is the cumulative frequency curve. So we're going to connect the points freehand, forming a smooth curve. Now you can see the shape is sort of like a S shape or a half a bell. That is generally the shape for a cumulative frequency curve. That S shape or half a bell shape. And that's the type of curve we'll be aiming for when we are drawing. So now I'm going to come freehand and connect these points with a smooth curve. All right, so I know this is not the best, but this is what I could do on the computer. So here you can see that half a bell or S-shaped curve, and this will be your cumulative frequency curve. And of course, we'll have to put a title. So here I have my title, cumulative frequency curve showing students' marks. Now, this was ungrouped data. Now let's look at grouped data. So here I have a table for grouped data. So here we have our class intervals for the marks. So this means we have 5 students got between 1 and 10 marks, 7 students got between 11 and 20 marks, 9 students got between 21 and 30 marks, and so on. Now the frequencies used here is the same as in the last question. So if we look here, we have marks going from 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 like that. And our frequency is 5, 7, 9, 15, 18, 13, 11, 9, 8, 5. Same thing here. So our cumulative frequency is going to be the same thing. Our first cumulative frequency is going to be 5 because that's our first frequency. We're going to add the 5 and 7 and get 12. And we're going to come down the line just like this. So 12 plus 9 is 21. 21 plus 15 is 36. 36 plus 18 is 54. 54 plus 13 is 67. 67 plus 11 is 78. 78 plus 9 is 87. 87 plus 8 is 95. And 95 plus 5 is 100. Now look at similarities here again. Notice my upper class limits are the same as the marks here. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 going on like that. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 going on like that. So same thing here, same as the upper class limits here. So now when drawing a cumulative frequency curve for grouped data, we can use the upper class limits or the upper class boundaries on the x-axis. Now it's a bit troublesome to go and plot 10.5 on the x-axis with 5 on the y-axis and 20.5 on the x-axis with 12 on the y-axis. It's a lot easier to just use the upper class limits and just use the 10, 20, 30, so on. So essentially, the same cumulative frequency curve I drew for this table will be the same cumulative frequency curve for this table. And that's because my upper class limits are the same as my marks here. And just like how we have this 0 here, because before 10 would have been 0, we're going to have the same thing here. Now for the cumulative frequency curve, we can't go into negative marks or the negative x-axis. So yes, the class interval before this would go into the negative, but the upper class boundary for the class interval before this would have been 0. So again, we will have the 0 frequency being 0 and the cumulative frequency 0. And this would be our cumulative frequency curve. 0, cumulative frequency is 0, so we have that here. Upper class limit of 10, the cumulative frequency is 5, so 10 go all the way up to 5. And I'll just highlight these upper class limits. So we plot in the upper class limits with the cumulative frequency. So we have 20 with 12, that's why we have 20 here going up to 12 here. 30 with 21, so 30 here going up to 21 here. 40 with 36, so 40 going all the way up to 36. 50 with 54, so 50 with 54. 60 with 67, so 60 with 67, and so on. And that will bring us to the end of this video.